What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Creating Character Podcast. My name is James Willems, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host and friend, Scorpio Sky.
I'm here. And I just want... No, I'm just kidding. That was
Were
last
you going to
week.
sing country music again?
Yeah, I was going to sing that song again. Now that we know it's an actual song. We are also joined by our producer, Eric Bador. Get in, yeah.
What's up?
Oh,
Yo, guys, what's going on? Would you like that?
No, I didn't.
What?
I never do.
Why not?
What was that again? How'd
Can
that
we
go?
just have one
What's
normal
up?
intro? The three of us hand it to each other, and we get to the end and we go,
Let's
and
try
now
it.
that's our show.
Let's try it. Do
Well,
it.
we
Do
already
Okay,
failed.
try it.
Hey,
Yeah, try it
everybody,
again.
welcome back to the Creating Character Podcast. My name is James Willems, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and friend, Scorpio Sky.
Good evening. How are you today? We are also joined by our esteemed producer, coming remotely from the city of Austin, Texas, Eric Boudoir.
Hi, is that what you think normal is?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is if our show is on, like, CNN or something.
yeah. Well, we're an
PBS.
NPR podcast now,
NPR.
so
Oh,
you're doing a great job.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would-
NPR,
I'd
if you're
love that,
listening, I'd
yeah.
love to be on NPR.
Come on, NPR. Pick
Yeah,
us up.
let's do it. They're not doing anything else. They can take us on. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Do
why
they
not?
know anything about WCW draft wrestlers? Like they probably know
got
about Arn
it.
Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone's got
Last
Yeah.
week we had the WCW draft.
it. We did.
Mhm.
And full disclosure, we have no idea what your comments are, so expect those next week because
Yeah, we'll
because
update. Yeah,
we are filming this before that episode airs. So if you're expecting to hear us react
Shout you
to the
out,
things that you
celebrate
said,
you.
it
yeah.
ain't gonna happen.
It's not
Sorry,
happening. Sorry.
not this week. But you got a reason to tune in next week.
Yeah,
But
we'll,
still watch this episode.
we'll follow up. We want to actually have a talking episode. I
Oh.
have some things I want to bring to the table. I want to get your guys' thoughts and opinions on it. And the subject for this week's episode is Kayfabe. What is it? How does it exist now? Basically, kicking off, we're doing a podcast.
Oh,
We've been doing how many episodes? Almost 50 episodes.
This is episode. This will be episode 47.
This is episode 47 of a podcast where we talk openly about the world of professional wrestling, a form of entertainment that for decades was very secretive, kind of kept very under wraps, and the term for like really buying into the world of it was kayfabe. It's, keeping up your character when you're outside of the ring. It's maintaining storylines through your 24/7 in your life. It's a whole thing. And I want to talk about how different things are, because some people say kayfabe is dead. People cite the curtain call event. There's so many moments in wrestling history that have been cited as like, this is the death of kayfabe, and now everybody knows everything. There's been something else that recently happened. WWE Unreal is a Netflix documentary series that, more than any other wrestling series before, has kind of spilled out the guts of what it takes to put on a wrestling show. Full-on interviews where the performers are saying all the names that they've wrestled under, as well as their legal name. It's just a complete open conversation about what professional wrestling is. I have some theories on it, but Sky, I kind of wanted to get your and Eric's take on what you think. You've been in the business for a really long time, so I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen it change firsthand.
Yeah.
So what's your point of view on all this?
I have not seen Unreal, actually. I it sounds like something I should check out. It sounds very interesting. Yeah, I'm very much like I try to be in every category of my life to go ahead and change with the times or adjust to the world you're currently living in and stop thinking about the world of the past. I do kind of wish there was a little bit less, I don't want to say openness, right? Because I think for a long time before it was like openly accepted, people, or I shouldn't say openly accepted, before it was like publicized as what we are, I think people kind of got it, but you kind of show up and you ignore it, and you just kind of, like, example, I used to always say this with people when people are like, oh, why do you watch wrestling? It's fake, right? And I'm like, why do you watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
The Simpsons isn't real.
Yeah.
That's not a real person, Homer Simpson, but you watch it and you don't think, is this like, I never understood why people would watch wrestling and think this is fake, but they don't watch a movie and think this is fake. You just watch the movie.
Yeah.
And I never understood why people didn't watch wrestling that way. And I guess the people that did, and the people that didn't want to made those excuses. But yeah, I think it's good and I think it's bad. You know, there's certain elements. I'm sure we can get into it a little deeper, but I'm a little bit on the fence about it, I should say. Like I'm more accepting of it, obviously, but
Yeah.
you know, there are downsides like there is for everything.
Yeah. I think some of the perception of, because I always got bothered by that too, where someone would say, "Do you know it's fake?" And I go, "I don't care." Like, yeah, but everything that's entertaining is. I think some of that onus is on the promoters for making that be such a major part of the business, you know, because to your Simpsons metaphor, if Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, went on Conan O'Brien in the 90s, he would be like, "Hey, it's me, Dan Castellaneta," and then like, "Here, we have the voice of Homer. Can you do a couple Homer lines?" And he would do it, and then they'd talk about some other project he's working on. Whereas if Hulk Hogan went on Conan in the 90s, he's gonna call out the Ayatollah, you know, or like he's gonna do his thing. And he's not going to say, "Hey, my name's Terry Bollea. I portray Hulk Hogan." So there was this weird fog over all of it that I kind of understand people being confused by. But to me, it was all part of the performance art. It was, you were still under the circus tent. And that's just how it worked with it. So I don't know. It's a strange thing to kind of wrap my head around. But Eric, have you seen WWE Unreal?
Yeah. And I think it's easy for people who maybe haven't seen it to go, "Oh, they're pulling the curtain back too much, and it's look, we're showing that it's fake, whatever." It's what James is talking about is a new, different kind of kayfabe. It is they're working you from one more layer deep where you're. Yeah, I know that all this stuff is fake, and I read the sheets, and I know it's happening backstage. And then it's them filming like backstage and passing it off as if this is the realness that you've been like trying to like get just kernels or nuggets of for like years and years. But it's just another layer of the show. It really is more akin to something like the Divas show that they had years and years ago, where all the women's reality show thing that they did on E. This is very much in that same realm. It is just they're fully controlling it and letting you go backstage, so you see Abyss without a mask telling people they went overtime, which is so weird.
It is really strange. I mean, one of the most interesting things is there's a whole, so like last year, Seth Rollins faked a knee injury, and it was a big deal, and went on for months, and only for him to reappear, throw down his crutches, and then turns out he was fine and he was faking it the whole time, so that way he could win the championship. Sorry. Sure. And so the documentary covers that whole period of time, and it's done in such a way where Triple H is going, "No, don't tell anyone. It's just between you, me, and Cody." Like, it's like as though it's a thing that only 4 people know about in the whole company. Is how it's presented. But I'm watching it going like, well, so does the documentary crew, because they're the ones who are like as Triple H is going like, "It's between you, me, and Cody. Don't say a word to anyone else." As there's a guy off camera with a boom mic, and then there's a giant camcorder with the light shined on him. I go like, well, you're saying that, but it's not, because there's a crew but I think when you see it, you go, "Oh my gosh, I'm really getting a peek through the lens here." Except that no, they know what they're doing. There's another discussion that you're not seeing where they go, "Let's do it in the documentary." Let's do it. We'll get the film. This is how we're going to present it in this. It's this whole new layer of kayfabe that I think is so strange to wrap my head around.
Well, they're showing you what they want you to see,
Yeah.
Exactly.
which is always
Yeah.
what wrestling's been. So
Yeah.
I'll say this: I've never watched anything like historically that I can think of where I got upset, like, oh, they're giving this away. I've
Yeah.
never watched anything and got upset about,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because, I mean, for one, maybe I'm wrong about this, but if you are watching WWE Unreal, you're probably completely aware of all these things happening. And if you aren't like if like, and I'm talking on a large scale, sure,
Mhm.
there might be someone that doesn't watch wrestling or is very, very, very casual to it that stumbles upon the show and because their friend is watching it and they learn a few things that they didn't know about. But for the most part, if you're watching the show, you probably know all these things are happening and these conversations are happening. And if you don't know, you're probably not watching the show. So
Yeah.
it's really, we always refer back to the term, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You know,
Yeah.
we are where we are. You just kind of have to adjust to it. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It-
Go ahead, Eric.
I'm curious, Sky, because you came in the business at a time where social media was largely like MySpace, Facebook at the beginning. And then you've seen it grow into a tool that a lot of guys use to promote themselves, right? To like reach a certain level to get the word out and whatever. And then people and promotions use it as a tool to tell stories and to get things over and to, give insight or whatever. Is there a part of you where I think you have a sort of back and forth relationship with social media anyway, but is there a part of you where you're like, this is a great tool and we should be using it this way? Or is it just a thing where it's like, oh, we should just throw this thing out and just keep this to the TV and confine it to like these shows? Like where do you land
Yeah,
on
I
the use
think
of social media?
it's very useful, and I think it should be used in the right way. What I don't like is when we let social media dictate what we do, as opposed to the other way around. If I go out and I have a match or something, and I come to the back and I feel like, oh, that was pretty good, and then I look at social media and they say that the match sucked, and then I change my mind, or my boss or something, just figuratively, let's just say, like, let's say social media thinks the match sucked.
Yeah.
So the match sucked.
Yeah.
And it's like that in every sport. I mean, I've talked to people where they'll formulate their opinions. I'll have like a lot of basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. So I'll talk to a friend all the time, and he formulates a lot of his opinions off what he reads off X. And I'm just like, yeah, but I know you don't actually feel that way. And so that's my biggest complaint was we need to be the ones telling the story. We don't need to let social media affect our artwork.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're the artists. We need, at our core, we're all creative. We're at wherever we are in our journey, whether it's starting or at the finish line or whatever it is. Wherever we are, we got there for a reason. And we need to trust our own creative minds and our own talent and let that dictate what happens, instead of, sure, you can take criticisms here and there, like, that's fair, but it shouldn't be the be all end all, because the reality is, in every sport and form of entertainment, what you're reading on social media is such a small portion of your audience.
Yeah.
In most cases, let's say it's an episode of Dynamite, for example. It does what's the average? Maybe 600,000 viewers. If we looked in the analytics, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000, 20,000 people tweeting about it, maybe 30. If you want to go really extremely high, 50, 100, that's still a really small
fraction.
That's why they call it a vocal minority.
Yeah.
That is not your audience. That is just a very small portion of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of this is like maybe a pushback against that. One of the coolest things about the internet and social media is that it gives people a voice. And it's not entirely an even voice, because we have things like verified check marks and all the, you can pay to get your thing to the top of a whatever.
Yeah.
There's all these things now that have even destroyed the equality of that, but it's closer to having a voice. And that's awesome because it means you can find people who share your interests. It means you can discuss things with people you never thought you'd be able to have a chance to. But it also means that some people feel entitled to a thought or a criticism or a note that they maybe don't really know the whole story to, especially, and this goes for a lot of things. This is just about pro wrestling. Because I would also say of that vocal minority, a majority probably are just there to enjoy the thing that they like.
Yeah.
And then of that is another vocal minority that are there to criticize the thing that everyone else likes.
Yes.
But like even stuff with like game development. I've seen people talking about features or things that they want to appear in an upcoming game, and I will go, that's not possible. That's not what you're describing. This it's something that took you 3 seconds to pop out of your brain and type and then hit send. You're asking for something that costs $6 million and 9 months of development time, like impossible things, but they just go, oh, it'd be cool if this happened. And so I think that applies to almost all things. The equality of voice, or just close to it, allows people to get together and talk about all these things that they're interested in, but maybe don't know.
Yeah.
If there was a social media and it was only people who have had 15 professional wrestling matches, it would sound very different than the one of people who are just fans, I guess is what I'm saying.
You know, I think everyone is entitled to speak their opinion.
Absolutely.
And I think if you've got an account and you know, especially if you got one person following you, that means one person wants to hear your perspective on something. And I think that's okay. My opinion, and again, I could be wrong about this, but I really don't think I am. Most wrestling fans and fans in general of basketball, football, whatever, enjoy what they're watching. You know, the majority enjoys what they're watching and they don't want to be negative about it. I think they feel good about it. Sure. Are there things that they get upset about? Of course. There's no way you can watch anything year after year after year and not find something that you don't like. But for the most part, I think they like what they watch when they watch WWE or AEW or TNA or the Indies. But there's just this small portion of people that are complaining about. Going back to the NBA, you have this group of people that it's just like, oh, I hate it. There's no defense. Not true. They shoot way too many threes and blah, 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 blah. And that's all it is. And blah, 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 blah. But again, that's a small portion of the audience. And that doesn't, and that shows in the ratings. The ratings are high. If you look at wrestling, ratings are up, at least for us. I don't know. I don't really follow anyone else. I hope it's high for everyone. Because I truly want everyone to do well. But I mean, people are watching, and you don't just continue to watch something year after year if you think it sucks.
Yeah.
It's I agree with what you guys are saying, that it gives people a voice to be able to kind of like, here's this thought, and it goes out. And I like social media. I think it's a great tool for advertising things. It's the way that I make my living through like podcasts and everything, you know, posting stuff about this or other shows. The issue that I have in what sort of that disconnect where it's like, man, there's so much negativity, is that you have a direct line to people. You can go, man, that match sucked. And it's just out there and whatever.
Yeah.
At Scorpio Sky, man, that match sucked. That's different and worse.
Yeah.
That's
even worse than that.
Terrible.
I'll give you worse than that. And I don't think this has happened to me, but I've seen it for other wrestlers. But I'm going to use myself as an example. At Tony Khan, that Scorpio Sky match sucked.
Yeah.
You should fire him.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
like when I see stuff
Crazy.
like that, and again, it probably has happened to me, but I don't remember it happening to me. That's tough because it's like, wow, because you didn't like the person's match, you don't want them to be able to feed their family.
Yeah, it's crazy.
like
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
And that's like the directness with social media is what I don't like. I don't like when people like tweet at me just out of nowhere or like message me out of nowhere. It's just sort of like I just try to have like that barrier of like this is a thing where to me it's a one-way street. I kind of like say stuff out and then I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for feedback. I'm just going out and that's about it. But I think that feeds into like what wrestling takes from that. And when you're a new kid on the block who's only had, like James said, 15 matches or whatever, and people are starting to notice you, and then people are taking Instagram stories of you doing a flying elbow drop or whatever and posting it, that feels really good because that's, man, you're finally getting some recognition for the thing that you love, and that's really exciting. And then that keeps becoming bigger and bigger and more, and then you don't have, now all you know is the direct, like the immediate feedback, and you're no longer thinking about like the longer term or the bigger picture. You're just going, oh man, I got like less Instagram story posts on that match. I should do something different. And now you're wrestling a different style for something that's completely different, and it's not for you anymore. It's for clicks.
Yes.
And I think that's a big thing that happened, not calling anyone out in particular, but I think that's a big thing just sort of in wrestling, but it's not just wrestling. It's in media. It's in all media. It's in TV. It's in movies. It's in video games. It's in everything. The immediate, like, oh, dude, we're going to use this hashtag. It's about to go crazy. And that's like, that's not who you should be driving at. You don't have to have that.
I think in addition to that, and this is kind of tangential to the kayfabe side of the conversation.
We've kind of...
But that's fine. That's kind of what I wanted. I do think the double-edged sword with social media and all these conversations is a direct line to the people that, like you said, you have one follower. That's one person who wants to hear what you have to say. Yeah. And so there's a direct line, and there's so many opportunities you can get now by communicating directly to the people that have chosen to follow you. And so in this hypothetical scenario where this wrestler is kind of rising up, building an audience for themselves on this platform, and then they see a dip, interpreting that as a strike against them and not realizing that even in that scenario, you're shouting into the fog. And so the algorithms change, all kinds of stuff. I met someone this past weekend who is a lifelong fan, essentially, of what I've done. They like, I've been following you since Inside Gaming. That was 13 years ago. They watched all the things that I did since that point. Huge fan. No idea what I'm up to now. I was, so what are you up to now? And I'm like, oh, I would have thought like if anyone was still listening to what I'm doing, so when I make a post on Instagram or whatever, they would know. But even this person, they had no idea. Oh, I do this podcast. I do another podcast. I'm wrestling. I do all these things. Oh, that's cool. That sounds awesome. I'll have to look that up. It's just, you can't factor in those. And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong and it's not because they're not following you hard enough. It's just, there's just so many factors. And if you just get caught up in that number, if you do a 450 and the clip of it doesn't get the number of likes that you wished it did, or it doesn't go viral, that doesn't mean that your 450 was bad. Yeah. Or that you should stop trying it or what have you, you know? So it's just tough.
I'll tell you when I started to detach from social media, and to full disclosure, I always had pretty good reviews on social media, and I never took it that serious, but like I never really got a lot of heat. I shouldn't say never, but like, you know, it wasn't that bad for me. But when I was working with Dan Lambert, that's when I started to see the difference between the people in the audience and the people watching the show on TV and what they're saying about it on social media. Because I would read people on like Twitter reviewing, like we'd do an interview segment, right? And I'd see people saying, "Oh, the crowd was dead," and I'm like, "Are you crazy?" Like I'm this is not me responding, but this is me reading it. I'm like, I'm standing 1 foot away from Dan Lambert. He's on a microphone, and the crowd is so loud I can't hear him. Like the crowd was insane. Like they were so loud, or they would say like, "Oh, that segment sucked." And then I'd look at the ratings and I'm like, but the ratings went up during our segment. You know, the same thing when I was feuding with Sammy. For whatever reason, Twitter just hated that. They hated it. They hated it so much. But again, like, perception is not always reality. The perception of my feud with Sammy Guevara is that it was a complete failure. But if you look at the actual reality, like, all the matches were good. The ratings always were good. They would go up or stay strong. And the live reactions were always there. So if that's not considered a success, then what is? And the final part to that, where I finally was like, this actually led me to like disassociate and leave Twitter, was not long after we did this feud. We were like right at the end of it, or it had just ended. I had a meet and greet in Philly, and I've told this story before. And as it got closer, I started having like hesitations. I was like, why did I agree to do this? Because all I'm thinking about is all the shit people are talking on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, fuck these people. I don't want to go see these fans. Like, fuck these people.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody says anything, I'm going to swing on them. I swear. Like, fuck these dudes. Like, that's how I felt going into it. I just was not about it. I went, rubbed my own, pat myself on the back. 3 hours, nonstop line, by the way. Over. But everyone was so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, a quarter to half of them, this was again in Philly, which is one of my favorite places to wrestle. A quarter to half of them bought a picture of my ladder match with Sammy, and they said, I was there that night. I loved that match. And I'm like, this is the audience. This is our audience.
Yeah.
The people on here is on like our phone on Twitter. That's not our audience. These are the people we need to listen to, not those people. And the same thing would happen with Ethan and I when we were teaming. We would go do meet and greets, and the line would be around the building, and people would come to us and they'd say like, "Holy cow! Like, you guys are so over." Like, or like, that's our audience.
Yeah.
You're right, and James can speak to this also. I've been in media for 20 years now, like online media where it is like direct to a person, like probably almost 20 years of doing this. And I have a very clear barrier about like where I'm willing to accept like people talking to me or I talk to them or whatever. But in person is always fine. I'd never have a problem meeting someone coming up and going like, I'm a big fan. This is great. Hell yeah, I love your stuff, whatever, or whatever it might be. I have an abrasive relationship with an audience because I don't want people to get too close. That is my own boundary and my own thing. I have in my life never met a hater in real life. I have never. I've been at Comic-Con all day, every day, 4 or 5 days in a row. PAX, RTX, every convention, everything, every opportunity for people to come up and meet and shake hands and take pictures and all this stuff. And it is all, dude, this is great. Hey, it's so nice to meet you. And I love meeting people in person and shaking hands and taking a picture. And like, that's fantastic.
Same.
I've never met a hater in real life. Ever.
Yeah, it's real.
Ever.
Yeah. I also want to give an out to, because we're talking about in person versus online, but also online is not.
Nope.
Like we said, it's a vocal minority.
Yeah, it's not all bad.
It's not all bad. Most people just are really jazzed about something.
Yeah.
And they want to be in a place where they can talk about it.
And some of it is our fault. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
some
yeah,
of it
yeah.
is our
Oh,
fault.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another reason I separated from like X or Twitter. I would search over 20 great comments to find one bad one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And those 20, it's like you're like, oh yeah, no, he's great. Oh, that match was he's so talented. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Say something bad. Like, say something to validate my insecurities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's another reason I think all of us need to we don't need to remove ourselves from it, but just take it for what it is.
Yeah, if you could apply a value, like an emotional value to it, just lower that a little bit. It doesn't have to be 0, but 0.001 point of emotional value to that stuff. Because I do think, like you said, you passed 20 positive comments. Those are people who didn't have to say a thing.
Yeah.
And they chose to go to you and say something nice. That's ridiculous. I always think about Yelp. You're way more likely to see a place that has negative reviews on Yelp than great reviews.
Yeah.
And it's because when you just go in and you have a great experience or you enjoy something, you don't think I have to warn people about how awesome this place is. You just go, well, that's life. Life should be happy and great experiences. It should be. And So I always think that way, where the people who are loving it are more likely to be like, yeah, this is just a part of my awesome life,
Yeah.
is getting to enjoy this. I also want to give credit to this whole kayfabe discussion, because I know it's something I do, is I kayfabe online. So if it's something that I think is funny, or there's a bit, I can tell there's a bit going, and I'm like, I rarely leave comments, but when I do, I'll be like, oh, I hope he's okay. I know it's a bit,
Yeah.
you know, and I think sometimes that spins things up.
I think
You know?
part of it is okay. I think that's also a line you walk.
Yeah.
And the best example I would give would be our former podcast, Wrestling with the Week.
Yeah.
We would break down our, we would talk about Dynamite on that show, right? But it
Mhm.
wasn't from like an insider's perspective. It was more so of like, this happened, and we would kind of give our impression of it. And specifically for my stuff, like I was kind of in character. Maybe not 100%, but like 75,
Yeah.
right? And here's why that worked. Because a lot of people that watched Wrestling with the Week were not AEW fans.
Mhm.
Some of them weren't even wrestling fans. They might have been your fans. They might have been Eric, your fans. Like, that just kind of started watching. And the best compliment I've ever received from this world is after the match with Sting, which we've talked about a few times in
Mhm.
recent weeks. After that pay-per-view, I received so many messages from listeners and watchers of Wrestling with the Week that said, I watched that pay-per-view. It was the first time I've ever watched wrestling, and it was so much fun. I'm a fan now.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. And that was because we were hyping it up.
Yeah.
Like, every week I'm like, Sting, I'm gonna be,
Yeah.
but not over the top, right?
No, yeah.
It was the way we're talking right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I can't believe that dirty Darby Allin jumped us from behind, and look what happened to him. We threw him downstairs.
Mhm.
What an L,
Yeah.
like, just kind of common conversation. I think that's fun. I think it's a good thing, and it brings people in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird path to navigate. I think that pushing the curtain back and being more open and transparent about what pro wrestling does is a good thing
Yeah.
for it, because I think the more you withhold, it's not going to stop people from spinning up their own ideas. And at least if you can give them more information, they can make more educated, like, oh, maybe it's not worth my time to get so upset when I see that there's like this injury, because I know what it looks like behind the scene,
Yeah.
like, or when this person isn't on TV as much as I'd like them to be, or this person is on TV too much. Now I see how all the gears work together
Yep.
to understand maybe it's not worth my energy. I mean, like with all things, the knowledge gets you out of hate.
Yes.
The
100%.
the more knowledge you have, the less you hate. And then of course there's a break point.
Message.
That's the message of this podcast. The more knowledge you have, the less like you are to be hateful. But there's also a certain point where you get too knowledgeable. You're like, now I'm pissed off
I
again.
hate everything.
But that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I do think opening things up, and this goes for anything. It goes for making movies, making video games, I think I don't know anything about woodworking. I'm sure if we had a carpenter on this podcast, they'd be like, you know what I hate? Getting comments from people criticizing this thing that I did at this carpentry, because they don't understand that I had to do, everything has this, because if you don't understand something, but you're a fan of it, you still want to be a part of the discussion. I don't know. I don't know where we began or where we're really ending with this, but I think it's just a fun discussion to have, because I think
liked
it
it.
especially
Yeah.
applies to pro wrestling.
It was cool. We talked about kayfabe. We kind of progressed into social media's impact on wrestling, which is an ongoing conversation that we could have all day. And I think we can come back to this some other time. And then we brought it all back, which was cool.
Yeah. I take a minute in your life and to try and decide whether or not you're underneath the circus tent as well.
Yeah.
That's really useful.
And just to be clear, by the way, because I don't want anyone to confuse anything, all that motherfucking I was doing of the fans, I want to be very clear. My perspective changed, and I love y'all now. That day, like, it was just like so cool,
Yeah.
And I don't mind people coming up and saying hi, and when they see me on the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I won't swing on you.
And if he does, it'll be kind of like a soft into the pocket of the neck.
Yeah.
It won't knock you out.
It'll be safe.
Yeah, it'll be safe.
this has been good. I think this was insightful. I think it was fun. It's a different discussion.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, talking about the new kayfabe and the pull of social media, that is the new kayfabe. Like
Yeah.
that, having the layer pulled back, but again, still being under the tent. I think that's just what it is. But
That's what it is.
I'm excited to find out because, again, we recorded this right after our WCW draft. I'm excited to find out that I won that draft again. So thank you very much
Yeah.
to everyone who left a comment and said that I won the draft. I appreciate you. You don't have to tell me that I won the draft and tweet at me. I'll find it, and I'll let you know that I won the draft. So thank you very much. But, James, where can people find you?
People can find me by searching James Williams. I'm basically on Instagram, sometimes on Blue Sky. I popped on Blue Sky
Whoa.
for the first time in a while.
Forgot about that one.
But popped on there a little bit. But yeah, I love to hear from people, especially fans of this show or anything that I'm up to. Like I said, sometimes you're shouting out into the fog. So come find me. Let me know that you're out there. Play the, what's the horn? Give me the horn. There, I want to hear that out in the distance in the fog. Yeah. I also want to say April 17th,
Yeah.
I will be wrestling in Chatsworth.
Oh,
I'll be
beautiful.
returning to MPW after a tense showdown with Ray Rosas. I think he's a bully.
You stupid.
I think he's a bully, and he picks on me. And it's probably because he sees unlimited potential in
That's
me.
right. That's right.
That must be it.
Hater.
Or he fears me. Those are the only two options. But I'll be back
April
at
17th.
April 17th at MPW. Please check it out. We got a couple huge shows coming up there. So that should be a lot of fun. I want to put that over. Sky?
You know, it's a date that will stick out in my mind forever. April 13th. Barely legal. ECW. 'Cause
Whoa.
when that was happening, when you said April 17th right now, it reminded me. And when
Mhm.
when they were leading up to that, it was always April 13th, April 13th, April 13th. Would it be
Worked.
weird if I found out that wasn't the actual date? Like I just
You just
remembered it wrong.
misremembered it?
Pretty sure it was
That'd be
April 13th.
awesome.
Anyways, if you want to find me, jump on social media. Go look at social media. Get you some social media and look up at Scorpio Sky. I might start doing some lives on TikTok because I like watching lives.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was talking to Anthony Bowens recently, and he was like, "Oh, I do a live." I was like, "Yeah, I was thinking about doing a live as well." And I saw over the weekend he did a live on TikTok, and I watched for a few minutes. I might jump on TikTok. So if I do, I am gonna need y'all to watch me. So at Scorpio Sky Official on TikTok, follow me. I'm gonna do some lives. Don't know what I'll talk about. Eric.
You can find me at Eric Bedour on everything. This is, again, it's kind of a one-way street. It's out to you, but that's fine. And also, hey, James, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
No
Happy
problem.
It was earlier
birthday.
this week.
Wow.
I didn't get to have an episode
You're an
on my
Aries?
birthday. I am an Aries.
I'm an Aries too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Couple
God of
Rams
War.
Walking horns, baby. Damn.
God of
that's
War.
up.
Diamond
Yep.
Birthstone.
Maybe we'll have to do a little birthday thing for ourselves off air or something.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Ooh, exciting. Well, you can follow us at Creating Character Pod on Instagram, or just subscribe to the YouTube. I mean, let people know. Let them know about this, and let them know that I keep winning the drafts. I'm undefeated in the draft. So thank you
What?
guys so much for watching. And we will see you next time on Creating Character. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.